And look, PJ, the journey of female entrepreneurs, especially ones that are
Oh,
mothers, and even
Mhm.
more so those who are single, who are not partnered, don't get enough attention. I think when we talk about business and the journey of, a typical, so-called typical person tends to gloss over the experience of those that don't come with the support system of having someone at home who's taking care of their kids, and having a second income to fall back on.
Mhm.
That I think is it's in many ways the degree of courage required to do that is even higher than the degree of courage required to be an entrepreneur that has that support system.
yeah.
So on many levels, you could say, well, I need to put food on the table. But like you said, if putting food on the table was the only consideration, there are other ways to do that. You
Yeah.
chose a certain path, and I'd love to understand a little bit more about the inception of Edit My Novel.
Yeah.
First of all, you made that decision. Up to that point, you're an author, and now you're not just an author, you're a business person. You need to go out there and you were marketing yourself. Now you're marketing your
Mhm.
services.
Mhm.
First of all, how did you balance your life, your own writing, and this business? And again, when we're young, we're able to do things that seem unimaginable
Oh,
as
sure.
we look back, right? So as you look back at it now, I'm sure you're probably shaking your head in wonderment that you were able to make it happen. But from what you recall, what was that journey like?
Yeah, it was it was there was not a lot of sleep in that journey, because I had two small kids. I was and not a lot of family nearby either.
Right, because all your family's in
In
Texas.
Texas,
And how
right?
old were the girls?
When probably 3 and 2, 3 and 2.
So really
Yeah,
small.
really small. Yeah, and three, almost 4 and 2, and so that's just as you know, I mean, it's just they're going all the time. So during nap times, after they went to sleep. So most of my real work happened from like 7:30 at night to like 1 or 2 in the morning. Like that's when I was working because they were sleeping and I knew they would sleep. So that's when I worked. And then during the day, they had some like preschool programs so that, they could go to that. And then I had a wonderful babysitter that would come in for a couple of hours. But in that 2 hours, I would have to do 6 or 8 hours of work. I'd be very focused. But it was really just the no sleep. It was the no sleep, and then, um, you know, just trying to figure out, because with Edit My Novel, one of the interesting barriers at the beginning was just understanding that that service had worth, because going through being cut from Simon Schuster, it was like, oh, I guess I'm worthless. I guess my writing isn't worth anything, and they don't think it's worth anything. And pitching stories that weren't getting book contracts, I'm like, well, am I worth it? And it was having to take a step back and say, well, no, I've published all these novels with Simon Schuster. One was a movie. Like I know what it takes to make a good novel. It's just that for whatever reason, I can't find the right editor right now. But so then getting past that mental block and then deciding, why not? Why not put my services out there? Why not try to help other people? And thankfully, there was no overhead. It was about getting a domain and a website and paying Google ads, what I could manage. So it was a lot of trial and error. And then over time, like after a year or two, I started getting, clients that really liked working with me, and they would recommend me to their friends. And, suddenly it was like a business that was going, that was, a steady source of income. So, in that way, I'm very, very fortunate.
A question on that. So as you're working with authors, and I've done some editing. I actually initially in my career expected to be in journalism. I didn't expect to be in business. I ended up going into business. And what I found difficult is that people submit work to you and it's no good, and
Yes.
and it's really
Yes.
hard to tell them that it's not.
Yes. Yeah.
And if your business is to edit people's novel, obviously, ultimately the objective is not just to edit a novel or write a novel; it's to get it published. Do you find it? I mean, are you rejecting manuscripts, or are you not working with authors when you think their odds of getting published are slim? I guess nowadays you can self-publish, but what's your thinking around that?
Yeah, my motto is to be honest but never cruel. So I
Mm.
think there's a way of being honest with someone about their writing without completely destroying their dreams. I think
Well,
there's
some of these dreams need to be
I
destroyed
know, well,
because I have seen some of these.
Mm.
part of my approach has always been, I'm going to take this manuscript as seriously as you did, even if the premise is outlandish, even if the writing is not very good. I'm going to take it as seriously as you took it, and I'm going to give you serious advice. And sometimes that advice varies from we really need to look at mechanics of writing and just the grammar of putting the sentence together, because these are the building blocks of writing, and you can say that in a way that's not like you're terrible. you know it's like there you can at least I try to emphasize the positives. Like, this is a very creative premise. That character was very interesting and well thought out. We just need to work on grammar, and we need to work on punctuation, and we need to work on these things.
Maybe you shouldn't write your novel in English.
Yeah.
Right.
Tal,
We need to work on these things.
I have seen complete manuscripts that have no punctuation.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
There
gotten those
are
too.
no paragraphs.
Gotten those too.
It's just full on pages of just copy.
Yeah.
I
That,
think Ted Kaczynski did that with the Unabomber. That was kind of his thing, right?
but at least he wasn't talking in his, I'm assuming in that entire dissertation that he put out there, that there wasn't a dialogue in there about he said, she said.
Right.
Where
Right.
there should be quotations and what character is saying what.
Right. Right.
It's it's a lot. I've seen
the point there, and just to take that point and extrapolate that into business at large, it's not uncommon in business, no matter what business you're in, to be dealing with clients whose style, whose sense of what's attractive and not attractive, or what makes sense and doesn't make sense, is very different than your own. If you're designing someone's website and they're they like certain colors and you think that they look horrible, ultimately it's their website.
Yep.
So I guess in certain lines of business, your job, and I love how you said it, your job's take it as seriously as they take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the audience and your business services customers whose sense of what's attractive or what's compelling or what resonates is different than your own, the best thing you could do is, obviously, you could choose to turn away the business. But if you're choosing not to turn away the business, don't feel like you're cheating yourself or cheating them, so long as you're taking the work as seriously as they are, and putting yourself in a position where you're wearing their hat to the extent you can to add as much value as possible. You're clean, right? I mean, it sounds like that's your thesis, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's about giving my honest opinion about how I think they can make this book better. And then, but ultimately, no, it's their call. It's their project. It's their book. They can take some advice. They can discard some advice. It's ultimately up to them. I just take it seriously. So, I don't dismiss somebody about like, well, that premises would never fly. Like, well, this is the premise they want. I'm taking it seriously. So how do we make it the best it can be? So yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.